All right. So my first question is a bit of a long one, but it's kind of, the usual intro question. What is your name? Where do you teach? How long have you taught? And how long have you taught computer science?
My name is Kimberly Ingraham Beck. I teach at Gretna High School and Gretna East High School. The district just opened a new high school last year, and so the new teacher that was hired is not able to teach the dual credit class through Metro yet. So I am teaching that at both. So due to that, we both teach at both schools. So I teach the upper level classes, and he teaches the lower level classes. Um, and how long have I taught? I just finished my 14th. No, this is going to be my 14th year. I finished my 13th year. I had 6 years as an instrumental music director at Bryan High School in Omaha Public Schools. And then I switched to computer science and just finished my 7th year there. Um, so yeah. All right. And then I answered the second question, the third question.
Yeah, no, there's a few parts there that really caught my interest. So you started in music and transitioned into computer science. What prompted that transition? How did you become interested about computer science from music?
So my dad was also a music teacher who then transitioned into technology. And sorry, my dogs are barking.
You're
Um,
good.
and so I grew up um, doing very techie things. We were the first family that I knew of my friends that had a computer and had internet. And excuse sir, no, leave. My dog came in just to bark directly at me. Anyways, so I also got to try out I was a guinea pig for some of the technology things that he was doing. So in there's a pictures of me in like 1995 with a virtual reality headset on, and it was called they called it the face sucker because it was like over everything, and then I was connected to like a big, I don't know, winch with cables. And anyways, so I grew up using technology for all sorts of things, um and just being around it and my dad's innovations kind of. And so I have loved technology for as long as I can remember. And I'm sorry, can you hear me over my dogs?
Yeah, no, you're totally good.
Okay. All right, just making sure. They don't seem to be stopping. Anyways, I was using technology in my music classes. So we actually had a device ensemble in like 2000, I don't know, I want to say like 14 or something. So we actually had students on iPod touches, iPads, and cell phones using um, digital music apps to play music. And so like they would read their sheet music and like play the piano part on their iPad. And so we actually performed for the Nebraska Educational Technology Association before the keynote one year. And we were doing like virtual private lessons before that was the thing again back in like 2014, 2015. And so we had a giant big screen TV come in connected to a computer, and we would do virtual lessons for my students with people in New York and other places. And I also taught a like introduction to technology class, and quickly became aware that I really liked the technology parts. Like I love music as well, but technology seemed to be where my heart truly lied, or lies. So my best friend at the time, well, actually she's still my best friend, worked in Gretna, and she said, we're opening up, my middle school is opening up a computer apps teacher. I think you should apply. And so I did, and I did not get that job. So I was like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And then they called me back like a couple days later, the district did, and said, "Hey, we didn't sorry we didn't hire you for that one, but it's because we think you'd be better for a computer science teacher." And I was like, I took a computer science class in high school, but I haven't done anything computer science related really since. And they're like, "Well, we'd be willing to work with you and, kind of like slow roll it, so add classes as you get more experienced." And so I was like, "Well, sure." So I came in for an interview and they hired me, and I um was crazy overwhelmed, but I loved it. I love learning, and just the thrill of learning all these new things hasn't really subsided. So yeah, there's also some weird correlation between music and computer science, or at least technology, because at Bryan High School, when I took over, the gentleman ahead of me left to go do some technology things, but ended up going back to music. And the gentleman before him, or a couple directors before him, left to be the technology person for the district or for the school. And so I don't know. I've met a whole lot of musicians in the technology field. It's just something I don't know. I don't know what it is,
Interesting.
but
No,
yeah,
I was, I mean, the way you integrated technology into the music classroom is something I mean, I took band in high school and I certainly didn't do a lot of that stuff. And I think that's really interesting. And I think there's a lot of potential in that direction for working with schools that maybe don't have the budget to buy some of the more fancy instruments and things like that.
yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, totally
no,
unrelated. Well, we went to a jazz contest at UNO, and we didn't have an electric bass player in my jazz band, but I had a drummer who could play piano on the iPad, and so he played the bass part on the iPad, and one of the adjudicators said in the recording, "Oh, you do have a bass." And then went, "Wait, I don't see your bass." "No, you don't have a bass." "No, but I hear a bass." And he's like going through this whole thing and didn't realize it was on an iPad. So it was he could not
wow.
tell it wasn't a real bass. So that was always very funny for us.
You said you teach dual credit at Gretna, correct?
Yep.
What was the process to get certified to teach that?
So it's kind of weird. Gretna does not do AP classes. Their position is we'd rather give dual credit because then students are guaranteed to have credit at whatever at the university that they go to, even though not all of them would recognize it, but I think they think more would. So we didn't start dual enrolling this class until this past year, but I to get certified, I had to do the normal 18 hours of certificate or courses. But then I felt, especially because coming from music and having only had one coding class or like true computer science class, um, I felt it would be better for my students if I got a master's degree in it. So I took the initiative to get more than just those classes. But so the dual enrollment process, I think it's just 18 credit hours, and then they look at your transcript and say yes or no, these classes count.
Interesting. Yeah, my high school did dual credit as well. So, and then I ended up going to the university they did it with. So it tended to it worked out well for me. But yeah, dual credit's a bit different than AP. So you talked a bit about how you got started in computer science education. What were some of your struggles transitioning from music into teaching this? I mean, you mentioned being overwhelmed a bit, but any other?
Yeah. So when I first started 7 years ago, there was, or now approaching 8, I found code.org and CodeHS. Those were really the only online platforms that I could find that had resources. But my school also chose which courses that we're going to do, and they were all one semester courses, and they were language specific. So, like, I have Java, HTML, Python, like, those are three separate one semester courses. And most of the curriculum out there is not language specific. It's the AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, or things like that. And so it was really difficult to find curriculum. And my district, I actually liked it because well, anyways, all right. So they said, here are the names of the classes and the descriptions that you're going to be teaching. Go find curriculum, and didn't tell me if I had a budget or not to find textbooks or anything. So I went all free and was able to do it, but it was really overwhelming just trying to find the curriculum to teach myself because I didn't know Java. Um, so or I knew a little bit of HTML just because I don't know, it was kind of easy to pick up. But um, yeah, I was mainly overwhelmed just trying to find resources for my specific classes because no one else I knew does one semester language specific classes.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty interesting to me. I haven't heard of that either. And offering multiple different languages is kind of interesting. Is there a
Yeah.
preference of those ones that you like to teach more?
I love Java. It's really my favorite language, I think. But I so sorry, the part I was going to add before I mentioned my district told me to pick my curriculum. I enjoyed that because I got to pick and choose what parts of my curriculum to add. So like my introductory course ended up being Java with a little bit of cybersecurity, with a little bit of history of CS, with a little bit of what's on the horizon. I just kind of mashed in a bunch of topics that I thought were important. If you're going to take one class, what do you kind of need to know? And then for my Python class, I took parts of different curriculums to build it, and I wanted it to be really hands-on. So we had a microbit unit, we had a Raspberry Pi unit, we had a drone unit, and a robotics unit. And so like I just pieced together, it was like, hey, I really like these couple of lessons. We're gonna do this. I like this unit. We're gonna pull this in. And so I really like that. I was able to do that. Now that we've dual enrolled Python, though, unfortunately, I can no longer do that because I'm bound to the curriculum that they have. But I really liked, especially while I was still learning, let's try this unit. Hey, that didn't work. Let's not do that unit again. Or hey, that really worked. Let's make that longer. I liked being able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that gets into my next thing. Is there a particular class of those three, HTML, Java, Python, that students seem to gravitate towards more, or you feel they understand more about computer science through using that particular language?
Um, I know Python's more approachable. Um, JavaScript, a lot of the kids have had some use with because like Scratch and things, and they've done Hour of Code quite a bit, and so there's a lot of JavaScript with that. Um, so that's not as difficult. Java. So the way we had structured up until this year was it would be the computer science basics, which was the JavaScript class, and then Java, and then or sorry, and then Python, and then Java. And then they could take cybersecurity, game development, or yeah, just those two actually no. Um, or then. And then because we were dual enrolling Python, we had to swap Java and Python. And so it's been really weird because I don't know. I mean, going from JavaScript to Java isn't too crazy because syntactically it's the same, but we just get a lot more into the weeds with object-oriented programming. And so as a sophomore, which is when they take it, it's a little, I don't know. I think it's fine, but I found they seem to enjoy Python better because it's not as syntactically heavy and they can kind of understand what's going on a little bit, whereas Java, my code doesn't work. Is it because I forgot a semicolon or a parenthesis or a quote? Like, or is it because like the line's wrong? Um, and so I will see how it goes doing Java before Python, but yeah, I think Python has been better for them.
Uh, I mean, I'm a little biased. Python was my first language. I've been running Python for 5 years, and I've dipped my toes in Java, but it was a bit much on the syntax for my personal taste.
Yeah,
But
the reason why I love it is because it doesn't make sense. There's so many we have a saying in my classroom as to when things don't make sense, you just say because Java. Like, well, why do we do it this way? Why is it written this way when all of the others are written this way? And you're like, so like for example, when you're taking input, you can do next double, next int, or next or next line. There's no next string. And it's like, why did they do that? Why didn't they, make it next string so it fits with the other types? And you're like, because Java. It just doesn't make sense. So I think that's part of the reason why I like it.
yeah, no, I like that kind of mentality of like, yeah, sometimes there's just weird parts about languages.
It doesn't make sense.
What are some of your victories you've experienced teaching computer science? Like things that have stuck with you from doing it?
Um, I guess my students, watching them really like go further. I had one kid, I don't know. He could just have been saying it to stoke my ego or I don't know something, but he said he went to UNK and was in his junior year of a computer science degree and still hadn't learned anything because we'd already learned it in high school. So I'm sure he was just stroking my ego and he wasn't being serious, but I was just like, oh, good. I prepared you. That's good. But also having parents come in and being able to talk with their kids about what they're learning, because we have a lot of parents who are work in the computers, who are computer scientists, and so it's fun hearing them talk to their parents and understand what's, what they're saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, my dad he's trained as an accountant, but he works in software. And so when I started learning it, being able to connect with him in that way has been it's kind of our thing that we share. And I can
That's
imagine that's a
awesome.
big piece for parents. I guess that touches on another thing. Do you feel that a lot of your students who, graduate and leave after taking these courses do really well studying computer science if they choose to do that?
I think it's up to the students. I yeah. So I was speaking with Dr. Brian Dorn at UNO about my curriculum, because I was thinking, like, my kids don't have computer science principles. They don't have a full year with any language. And so is it doing them a disservice because we can't get into the nitty gritty too much because, we only have 16 weeks to go through a new language. So I was talking with Dr. Dorn because I was like, am I doing my students a disservice? And he said, on the contrary, I think it's really good that your students get to explore lots of different types, or like parts of computer science, the computer science field, to know what they enjoy. So I liked that. So I don't know if he was just telling me that because I don't have a whole lot of, I don't know, we'd have to drop a lot of courses if we switch to a year-long course, or we'd have to drop some of them. So I don't know, but I do think my students, we have a decent number of students who go into computer science. And I've had alumni reach out and say how prepared they were for, studying at the university level. Um, so I hope that I'm preparing them.
Yeah, no, I mean, my high school did two programming courses for juniors and seniors, and I felt very prepared going into my first year of programming.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I can imagine that it does. Uh, this is a question I've asked every teacher, and it's one I think it's an important one. Do you consider yourself a computer scientist?
Yeah, I read that and I got kind of taken aback because I have never thought of myself as a computer scientist. Um, I I don't create things necessarily on my own. Like I'm not the kind of person that just sits down and codes a project for the fun of it. Um, I don't know, that's just not what I do. Um, yeah, I don't know.
No, I
Um,
mean, that's good. Every teacher I've asked has always said that I'm not a computer scientist. There's always a distinction, and I think that's really interesting because I mean, you're a teacher first and foremost. I just happen to be teaching computer science, right?
right. Um, yeah. It really threw me back when I was looking at these because I was like, oh man, like I feel like I should, because I've been in the field kind of for 7 years now. Like I've been doing this longer than I was a music teacher. Um, so I didn't, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, thank you for your answer. These next set of questions kind of focus more on your perspective of computer science education as a whole, and you're also the president of the CSTA Omaha chapter. So if you want, you can speak to that piece of it as well. What are some of the shortcomings you've noticed or experienced in the field of computer science education?
The main thing is, if you think of like science, the field of science, there are industry standards. You have biology, you have chemistry, you have those specific subjects within the field. But then computer science, we don't have any specific agreed upon universal, subjects within the course. So every school kind of feels like they're doing something different because there is no agreed upon standard. of what you should be doing. I mean, I know the computer science A and computer science principles are pretty close to them, but there's still a lot of schools that aren't doing them. So I feel like that is definitely one of the shortcomings. Well, even if you do have like everyone's doing CSP, um, there are still a lot of things that are not getting covered in CSP. So, um, yeah, I just feel like a lack of a standardized this is what we do, like or pathway even,
Hmm.
because some schools don't even have computer science classes in the slightest. Like the closest they get is a business class. So,
Yeah. I guess that speaks to the next question too. What's one thing you would change about how CS is taught?
um, I know I'm extremely fortunate because I am in a rural district, but it's like we're right outside Omaha. So we still have a lot of people that work in Omaha. So we're like, we have kids who live on farms and grew up on a farm, but we also have kids whose parents have, like, I don't know, just moved slightly out of Omaha. And so we're still kind of a big city feel, but we're trying to keep the small town feel. Um, and so we're extremely fortunate because I'm a full-time computer science teacher and my counterpart is also a full-time computer science teacher. And so we don't have to, we're not a math teacher who can only teach one class for computer science or something. And our district is big enough that we can offer multiple courses. And so we can have the pathway that we do, just because the size that we are. And so I feel extremely fortunate for that. If every school could offer these courses, I think that would be fantastic, but that's not realistic. But I have um had words with administration at other large schools um in Omaha especially because they are not teaching more courses. I feel like they're big schools and they have like they should be teaching these classes. If their school's twice the size of mine or larger, they should be including these classes. So, like computer science or cybersecurity is one of the biggest ones I'm passionate about. I don't know why on earth schools aren't offering cybersecurity. And I told this to a principal of a school in Omaha that has 2,500 students, and they have uh before this year, they had computer science A and computer science P, or principles. And I said, you need to be teaching cybersecurity. Um, and the principal said back to me, and I quote, we don't have an appetite for that here. And I said, you absolutely do need to have an appetite. There's 500,000 open jobs in the US right now. You need to be teaching cybersecurity. So, I just I don't know. If I could change it, I think cybersecurity definitely needs to be covered. I think um, it needs to be more than just languages because programming is not the only aspect of computer science, and I feel like it's the main aspect most schools think it is. Like, okay, you take this class and you get like it's programming. Um, and I don't think if I could change that, it would not just be programming. There's so much of computer science. Like, of course, programming is important, but it's not the only thing that's important, in my opinion. So if I could change, it would be that schools need to be teaching cybersecurity. They need to be teaching um, things that are not just programming within the computer science field.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. My classes in high school were just programming. It set me up well, and when I got to my degree, obviously, I picked up the things fairly well. But it's certainly CS is more than just programming, just as much as English is more than just writing.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Uh, what's been your favorite aspect? I guess that kind of we already kind of answered that with the victory. Your favorite
Java.
aspect.
Yeah, well, I guess I love cybersecurity. I'm super passionate about cybersecurity also. Java is my favorite programming language, and I don't know, it's a toss-up between Java and cybersecurity is my favorite class to teach. Um, so yeah, I don't.
So yeah, I guess diverging a bit to the cybersecurity piece, how did that class come about? And what are some of the topics you cover in that? Is it like a required course, but for students or things like that?
It's not. Right now, our pathway this year, it just changed again with the dual enrollment class. But right now, the pathway is the computer science basics, the introductory course, and then Java. And then after Java, students have a choice of three other classes that they can take. They can take game design with Unity and C Sharp. They can take cybersecurity and or they can take Python, which is dual enrolled. And so all three of those are open and they can take any of them or none of them. Um, so cybersecurity is not required, and you have to go through two prior classes before that. And only so the introductory course is not just programming. It's the one that I pulled lots of different parts into. And so uh Java is just programming. But yeah, so cybersecurity, I it was one of the classes that actually, okay, so my district did something cool. They got in a bunch of Fortune 500 company CEOs or representatives and said, "What do you want us to be teaching for computer science?" And so they're the ones who dictated the classes that I teach, which I think is pretty cool. HTML was not very popular, and I wanted to do game development with Unity. And so I actually dropped HTML and included it in the beginning, the introductory course. We now have an HTML unit also, and then added game development. But other than that, this is what they suggested. And so cybersecurity was one of the ones that was suggested that they implemented when I was first hired. So I found some books. It was like Hacker High School, I think was the name of the books. And they had really good reviews and Intel maybe said if you completed all three books, you were guaranteed a job with Intel. And so I was like, that's a pretty good guarantee. And through our class, we were able to get through the first book and most of the second book. And then I had a couple copies of the third book and said if any students wanted to check them out, they could. But then it was just reading. The whole class was just reading. There was very little hands-on, and so I got bored and the kids got bored. So I found cyber.org, which was previously named NYSERC. And they're funded by the DoD and the NSA. I don't remember if it's DoD, but it's the NSA, and now CISA. And it's geared towards the Security Plus exam. And so we go through content that's on that exam, but also we do a bunch of hands-on labs. So when we talk about password crackers and how to have good passwords, we hack passwords. When we talk about defend like different types of attacks, we do a ransomware attack. We do a backdoor attack. So cyber.org, I really love their curriculum. It's it's very hands-on and the kids really like that. And I mean, the kids just love saying like, well, I just did a ransomware attack today, or, like, I don't know. Um, so that's kind of fun. And I tell the kids that now that they are aware of all of these things, it's their job to tell other people who is being unsafe. And part of the like some of the assignments are to go out into public and just observe the vulnerabilities that you see. Are there like employee only access doors that are not locked? And so it's kind of interesting to see just, basically case a place and give a report on what you find. I said you're strictly not allowed to do anything about this other than tell the people in charge, hey, by the way, uh, like I can see the manager's computer that's not like locked and the door's not locked or anything. Like they can do that. But yeah, beyond that, um, I just really like the course that they have written.
Yeah. The follow-up question to that is, what's one of your least favorite aspects of computer science?
Ooh. Um, if it was the AP exam, it would probably be if I had an AP class, it would probably be the AP exam, just because I feel like it puts so much pressure on students. I don't know if, and I know other places do them, but or like do AP exams, but I just feel like that's so much pressure. Um, and to dwindle everything that we've learned into a high stakes pressured test just feels wrong to me. So I do appreciate my district not doing that, but I would say that would be it. Um, um, well, I guess my least favorite aspect is um students who are not fluent in English. I feel it's not at all fair to them. Like they're learning English and now, hey, here's another language for you to learn. And so like I just feel like it's really unfair to them to have to um take um I don't know, some of these classes like they want to. And I feel so bad that it's so difficult for some of them. We have even in our district, we surprisingly have a fairly diverse student population. Like it's becoming more and more diverse. And so there are a good number of non-English speaking or English not as their first language students in my classes. And so they're doing a great job, but I just feel so bad. That's my least favorite aspect is just like you poor student, like you're still learning English and now here let's code in this language that you are barely fluent in. So I just feel bad about that. But
No, I mean I think that's really fair. In programming in general, it's just very English dominated. Even
yes,
all the code, all the keywords, nothing's translated. It's all just these are
right.
English keywords.
Yep. I was I was kind of shocked to find that out in my master's level computer science classes because I'd be with foreign exchange students and they'd be coding like typing notes in their native language and then coding in English and that's when it dawned on me like, oh, I think pretty much most everyone codes in English because so I hadn't even thought about that before then. So
Is that something you would like to see different? Maybe the ability to have those keywords and things translate across languages?
I do think it would be good. I feel like we're gatekeeping coding a little bit by making it English only. We're not allowing everyone to use it, but it's beyond me to create a coding language that people can use and translate to other languages. But yeah.